Good morning, everyone. This is Steve Watley with Homewell Senior Care. Honestly, I come to you today to speak to the family caregivers, the caregivers who are taking care of a family member. And I want you to just take a moment and listen, because this story that I'm about to share with you has everything to do with you and how you take care of yourself. I want you to think about what would happen if you were not there to take care of your family member. What would happen to your family member who needs the care that you give? What would happen to other family members if you were not there? And I say that regarding a story that just happened to a family that we know and love recently. The family of James and Patsy. James and Patsy were married for 55 years, and 45 years into that wonderful relationship, Patsy was stricken with Alzheimer's disease. And at first she did okay. The disease progressively got worse over time. And James was always at her side, taking care of her, refusing help from others, taking care of Patsy in the best way he knew how. But as those of you who care for dementia or Alzheimer family members, you know that the disease progressively gets worse and affects cognitive function as well as physical functions. Well, somewhere in the neighborhood of the 9.5-year mark or so, James finally accepted some help, and he accepted help from our company and our personal assistants. But the help was sporadic, it was periodic, it was not anything regular. But at least he did have some help, and it gave him a break from taking care of Patsy a couple of times a week, up until just a few short weeks ago when Patsy declined to the point where James could no longer care for her. So when that occurred, James and his sons, his family, decided that it was probably time to consider a memory care community for Patsy where she could be better cared for. In the process of things, the family lived out of town, and it was taking time to plan to arrive in town to help for the search for this new community for Patsy. Patsy fell. James could not get her up. So he called us. We responded quickly. We went out and helped him get Patsy up and taken care of. And within pretty short order that day, James admitted he could no longer care for her. He was physically and mentally and emotionally spent. So we started care full-time, 24/7 over the next few days. The family arrived in town, and they began searching for a community for Patsy to go to. And they picked a place on him one day that James felt very comfortable with, said he felt it like home, and was very happy. The sad part about this story is that our help came too late. James waited until he was physically and emotionally spent before he got our help. And the day after he picked the memory care community for his lovely bride of 55 years, he had a massive heart attack and died. Folks, this is a real world example of why you have to take care of yourself. You have to eat well, you have to exercise, you have to go to a doctor, and sometimes you might need help from organizations such as ours to give yourself that much needed break so that you can rest and be ready to go back and take care of your family members. There's a widely known statistic in our business that tells us that most caregivers Okay, I want you to understand most caregivers die because they don't take care of themselves, and they die before the family member who receives the care dies. You don't go to the doctor because you need to take your family member to the doctor. You don't exercise because you're doing other things with your family member. You don't eat well because you're so busy taking care of things. You don't take a break. You don't take a respite. You don't call on organizations such as ours to get those needed breaks. And I just want to encourage you, whether you use HomeWell, whether you use another family member, another company, I just want to encourage you to take care of yourself, because you can't take care of anyone if you don't take care of yourself first. If you want to talk more about this, and I can share more with you about our wonderful couple, James and Patsy, give me a call. HomeWell Senior Care of Collin County.